So at the end of every batch, I do this. I try to make the summary of PMP. So this time we are going to look at the 5 process group: initiation, planning, execution, monitoring, and control. And through that, we will see how each and everything is done. So when the project is started, it's basically initiation. Okay. So it's the initiation phase. In initiation, the most important thing is why you are going to start the project. Okay. So why basically comes from the organizational strategy. What is the organizational strategy? Why organization even want to do that project? What is the organizational strategy for that particular decade or year? They gave it to the portfolio. The portfolio decided, hey, we want to do this thing, and they make programs and they make projects. Program and projects, they deliver results. Those results are transferred to the operations. Operation deliver value, and this cycle goes on. Okay, this cycle keep on happening. So that is how basically we start a project. Project can be started for thousands of reasons. It can be a legal reason, it can be an environmental reason, it can be economical reason. Whatever the reason is, the project is started. Okay, so once this is the organizational strategy defined, we want this thing, we make feasibility report, or also known as need assessment. Need assessment is done. Okay, need assessment is done for that particular project. What is the requirement of that project? The feasibility report basically proves that this project is possible. Once the feasibility report is done, we make a business case. Business case is more of a cost benefit study of that particular thing. What is the benefit of this? What is the cost of this? We use various materials, various models, payback period, to compare different projects. Okay, ROI, return of investment, IRR, NPV, uh, future value, present value. And we see the context of the organization. What are the organizational process assets, the policy, procedure, tools, and template in which the organization is operating? And what are the enterprise environmental factors in which the organizations are operating? The internal, external resource availability, and these things, what are they available? We look at all these things. And plus, we know that which type of organization are we working in. Now, the type of organization has a great influence how the project is going to be conducted. If the organization is projectized, it will be different. If the organization is functional, it will be different. So as a general, we consider our organization, if it is not mentioned, we consider our organization as more of a matrix organization, and a strong matrix organization, which project manager has more power. So if in the question it is not mentioned which type of organization is this, so you will consider it as a strong matrix organization, or even projectized. If the organization is functional organization, or some other type of virtual organization, it must be mentioned in the in that topic. Otherwise, you need to consider it more of a projectized organization or a strong matrix organization. So once the business case is approved, you make benefit management plan. Benefit management plan do get also those cost benefits, but it is also looking towards the intangible benefit. Who will be the benefit owners? How the benefits are gonna measure? These things will be in the benefit management plan. Once these things are approved, then we move to the next thing, and here starts the initiation phase. These things so far, they are pre-initiation phase. They are pre-initiation phases. We start making project charter. Now, project charter is one of the most important document in the project. Project charter defines who is the project manager, who is the project sponsor, what are the key milestones, what is the date, budget, each and everything at high level detail is mentioned in the project charter at a high level detail. What do I mean by high level detail? The overall budget, the major milestones, the major stakeholders, the major risk, these things at a very high level, they are managed in the project charter. With the project charter, another document is created that is called assumption log. Assumption log is basically the list of all the requirement, the list of all the assumptions. Now assumptions can be true or false, they can be positive or negative, whatever it is, they are assumptions here. We made the assumption log at this arena to get all the assumption. This will be a live document. It will keep on updating as the project unfold. As the project unfold, it will keep on updating. Whereas the project charter, once it is approved, the project is formalized, it cannot change. Like business case, benefit management plan, and project charter, you can consider these are the three documents in the project that cannot be changed. If they change, the project changes. Once you have done this, then you have a official project manager. Here you get project manager. His first job is to make assumption log. Another document he basically made alongside. That is a stakeholder register. Now, stakeholder is any person who is affecting the project or who can affect the project or who is being affected by the project in a positive or a negative stakeholders can be like thousands of stakeholders. They can be in your project. Your goal is to first step utilizing all the documents that is available, business case, benefit management plan, project charter, to identify all the stakeholder. Okay, identify step number one becomes identifying all the stakeholder, identifying and putting it into the stakeholder register. Once you have put stakeholder register, the next thing is that not all stakeholders have equal value. Not all stakeholders are equal. Some have high power, high interest. So the next step become to categorize the stakeholder. Categorize the stakeholder as upward stakeholders, as downward stakeholder, sideward stakeholders, internal stakeholder, external stakeholder. Like customer can be a customer is a stakeholder. So you categorize all the stakeholders in this way. Once you have categorized the stakeholder, then you look their power and interest. Which stakeholder has high power? Okay. Which stakeholder has high interest? High power, high interest, you manage them closely. You manage their each and every requirement. High power, low interest, you need to keep them satisfied. Whatever you do, you need to find out the techniques to satisfy the stakeholders so that the stakeholders stay on the track, so that the stakeholders are with you. Then the stakeholders that have low power but they have high interest, you need to keep them informed. You need to keep them informed. When people having low power, low interest, you need to keep, like, put them in the watch list at any time. Their can change, their authority can change, because at any time in the project we are looking at a specific phase, specific day, the power and interest of that particular stakeholders. So that can change at any time. Maybe someone gets promotion, so from keep informed to it become this. So you need to see that and you put it in the stakeholder register. And then you also make a stakeholder engagement matrix. Stakeholder engagement matrix is to see basically what are the current engagement of the stakeholders and what are the desired engagement. What do you desire in the project, that this stakeholder should be supportive to you, this stakeholder should be neutral at that time, he should be leading. So you make a those stakeholder engagement matrix. So this sums up the initiation phase. Very important thing. We don't share. Generally, we don't share stakeholder register with any stakeholder. We don't share that. This is very important thing. So Sue asked, what is upward stakeholder? Upward stakeholders are your boss, the persons whom you are answering. They are your upward stakeholder. You are answering to someone, the sponsor. They are your upward stakeholder. Downward stakeholder who are answering to you, your subordinates. They are your downward stakeholder. Internal stakeholder, the within the company, within the project, external stakeholder, customer. Sidewards are your peers, the people having the same designation as you are. Neither you are reporting them nor they are reporting. Maybe you are sharing your reports with them, but this is the way. The next process group is planning process group. Now the purpose of the planning process group is basically to plan, make all the plans in the project, how those plans are going to do. So we make all the plans here. The most important thing that is made here is three baselines: scope baseline, schedule baseline, cost baseline. It becomes the part of the project management plan. You get the entire project management plan with you. But here we also decide, are we going to use agile methodology, or we are going to use predictive methodology, predictive life cycle, or agile life cycle. So that is a very important thing to decide here. But before going to that, let's take from the where we have made the stakeholder register. Let's start from there and make the first plan as stakeholder engagement plan. So stakeholder engagement plan, once the stakeholder register is done, the stakeholder engagement plan is all about strategies, how to satisfy the stakeholder, how to keep them satisfied. Guys, all plans are how. So stakeholder engagement plan is how you are going to engage your stakeholder, how you are going to make sure like they are satisfied, how to you are going to show that they are at the current engagement level at which you desire currently in the project, what you desire. We make those strategies. Once those strategies are done, we get those strategy approved from the sponsor or change control board or whatever. So once the stakeholder engagement plan is approved, stakeholder engagement plan is done. Okay. The next plan that is made in correspondence with the stakeholder is the communication engagement plan. Now communication plan is all about 4R: getting the right information at right time to right people to have the right impact. This is the like crust of communication, like giving the people only the information that is required, not much, not less, only the information that they required at a particular time in the project. You give them that particular information. In the communication plan, we also write who is authorized to share the information, how the information will be collected, how the information will be stored, where it will be stored. Very important. Understanding the diversity of the team you have, the stakeholders you have, their culture, their background. They prefer learning format. Do they prefer written format, or they prefer audio format? They prefer video, or they prefer formal communication? How do they prefer? Not you. This is very important. Not you. Guys, one of the reason I put videos, I put audios, I try to do written, every form of communication. It is possible that you prefer watching video, whereas Umar prefer listening to the audios. This is possible, na? So you need to understand, you need to put those things into your communication engagement plan, whether you need formal communication, informal communication, how you are going to satisfy your stakeholder. Communication management plan is all about frequency, format, type of communication. What strategies we need, that is answered by stakeholder engagement plan. So both plans are made in parallel. Okay. Even sometime I even say that communication plan is the first plan, but as a easy thing, they are made parallel. Both of the plans are being made in parallel. So once the plan is made, we send it for approval. The communication plan is done. The next plan is the most important plan, I would say, currently for PMP. Resource management plan. How do you manage your teams? How do you get your team? How do you manage your team? Now, when we are talking about resource, the first and most important thing, we need to decide the first thing. Do we need to have virtual resources, or we can use physical resources? Or are we going to use hybrid teams? Let me give an example. We have a, like, we are a company of 10 plus employees. So we use a hybrid approach. Most of the time my employees are working from their home, but once a week, the people who are living in the same city, I ask them to come so that we can have a discussion strategy, what is expected. So that is more of a hybrid approach. So what are you going to do? Virtual or physical resources? If you are going to do virtual resources, you need to understand challenges of the virtual resources. Like a very good example, there, if they have a children, there will be a background noise of children's. So you need to identify, and some people will not be comfortable even turning the video on. Okay, so you need to understand, you can make this a ground rule that whoever can turn the video on, they turn it, they turn the video on. Okay, and you need to let go the biasing. There's a biasing that females don't consider as a positive to turn the videos on. No, actually equally male don't like to turn the video on. You can see actually right now we are 25 plus people. So some of the males and some of the females have not turned the video on. It all depends on the perception, how they want to perceive. So you need to accept this as a challenge, and you need to be make peace yourself. Okay, you need to give them a space. Okay, because we are coming to a team, they are self-organized team. So if you are going to get the physical resources, then you need to arrange for the accommodations. You need to arrange for their facilities and things where they can stay, how you can manage the transportation. These things must be managed in the project. Okay, so all these things are considered in the forming stage when you are making the team. And your team, what types of skills you are required. You need to analyze what type of skills are required for a particular job. If there's a job, it needs a particular skill. If you need a designer, then a content writer cannot work that person. So you need to see who have that skill and give them according to that. SWOT analysis. SWOT analysis play a critical role here. Like give people those tasks in which they are good. If you give them something that they are good at, eventually they will produce a better result as compared to someone who hates their job and who don't like to do that. Okay, let me give you my example. For example, I don't like writing. I don't like reviewing. So when I am making my journeys videos, or my team is making my journeys videos, even I don't like to review them. I made all the videos. I can stand in front of the screen, speak all about that. But when I write it down, like, okay, I understand that I have to do it, but that's my weakness. I don't like to do it. So you need to understand, do the like the MBTI survey, the attitudinal survey, to understand your resources, in which thing they are good at and in which thing they are bad at, they don't like. Now, this is very important thing. Once you have hired the resources, let's say there's a key skill that they don't know. Being bad at and being not good and don't know is a different thing. If they don't know about this thing, then this means they need a training. Throughout the project, you need to identify the training needs of the resources. What are the training requirement of the resources? And you need to provide the trainings to the stakeholders. You need to provide that training to the resources. It can be one-to-one training, mentorship. You can make a mentor, you can coach them. Whatever you do, you need to do them. Okay. In addition to that, we need to understand how humans are motivated. We have a Maslow hierarchy of need, which says that unless lower needs are not satisfied, we will not even go to the higher need. Like if I am hungry, okay, or if I am unable to breathe, I would not be conducting this session. As simple as it can get here. So you need to identify at which need, which team member is, what they required, what is their motivational thing, what is their motivational biases, how they can be motivated to work properly. For example, sometimes you also use Herzberg theory of motivation of 2 points. Like there are some hygiene agent. Hygiene agents are the things that must be present in the job. If they are not present in the job, people get demotivated. But no matter how much you provide them, people never get motivated. For in order to, these are called hygiene agents. In order to motivate the people, we have motivating agents. We have separate thing as a motivating agents. So let's say if the internet is slow, or if the AC is not working, or there is no water, or the condition there you, there's a your office and there is a some place, maybe garbage center there, and the smell is coming there. So hygiene level is not there. Hygiene agent has to be there, or otherwise people will become demotivated. You need to understand as a project manager, even before or throughout the project, even before forming stage and throughout the project. Then we have achievement theory, which says that people are motivated by power, affiliation, and achievement, and other things. So what are they motivated by? Understand that. Once you do that, now next thing comes, like you make a team charter. Ideally, team charter is for the team, by the team. Some people also call it as a working agreement. It has vision of the project, it has ground rules inside it, it has other things in it. So it should be made by the team, but initially you can help in the development of a team charter. And team charter is a live document. It can be updated throughout the project. So you look at the what is in the team charter, how I can update it, what are the important points of this team charter. So once the forming stage is done, people start like at this stage your job is more of a directing. You are directing the people. Once the people get start easing their barrier break, then we get into the storming stage. Now storming is the stage where team start having conflict. So you need to understand basic conflict management, how to do conflict management, concerns for other, concerns for others, and concerns for yourself. Okay, so how do you manage? If you care for others and also you care for yourself, you go for a win-win situation. But if you care for other is more, but care for yourself is less, you go for a lose win. Like here you go for the problem solving, collaboration, confronting. Here you kind of accommodate them, or sometimes smooth the conflict, maybe for later on. But if you care for yourself more, then you will try to win the argument. You will try to force or direct. If you don't care about them, you don't care about yourself, you will try to avoid the conflict. That is more of a lose-lose situation. You avoid it, you withdraw it. And if you care for them, you care for others, but you don't care that much. So we also have like situation of a compromise. In compromise, both parties give up something. Okay, so in a project, as a project manager, you identify the stage of the conflict. Is it problem solving? Is it disagreement? Is it contest, crusade, world war? Where the conflict is. Once you identify the conflict, your job is to take from the avoid to compromise to problem solving. And once at the problem solving, let it be there. But in order to solve any kind of conflict, you need to have emotional intelligence. You need to be self-aware. Understand what, where do you stand, what is your strength, what is your weakness, what things tickle you, what things make you unhappy, and then manage yourself. The team should not know your weaknesses, or they should not know your taking point. Then identify identify what other people need, understand others and influence them. Use empathy. Empathy is basically understanding other people, getting into the shoes of that people. If someone is suffering from that thing, why they are having trouble. If someone is unable to update the Excel sheet, unable to make graph, maybe he don't know how to do that. In today's world, if someone cannot do a task but his attitude is good, this is very important, guys. If his attitude is good, then then you should identify the training need, provide them the training, and measure the training objective. If Elon Musk, the physicist guy, the money guy, become the rocket scientist and made the Tesla and so many things, this proves something. We live in a world where everything is learnable if you have a right attitude. So understand them, empathy, and then use motivational theories. Okay, but you cannot do that by speaking. You can only do that by active listening, using emotional intelligence and active listening, listening to the words they have, listening to their body language, like paraphrasing, understanding. going deep, global listening, like what are the things they want to say, what are the things that they are saying that you are unable to understand. So listening is the key here, not speaking. Mostly people think project manager job is communication, and communication is listening. Actually it's yes, communication is listening, it's not speaking. I listen more. You guys always see me speaking, 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 but I listen more. I talk to you guys. I understand your needs. I identify the training needs. Identify where do you stand, and I keep on making things, keep on making videos according to your requirement. It's listening, listening, listening more as compared to talking, talking, talking. So once you have handled this situation in a positive way, the next thing comes, like the team has moved from the storming stage to the norming stage. Okay, now the team is the norming stage. Here your job is to mentor them, further guide them, again identify the training needs. This happens at every stage. Provide the training, measure the trainings. If this managed perfectly, then we reach the ideal stage, that is performing stage. Okay, that is a performing stage where the team is delegating the task, performing everything, and finally at journeying stage. In the planning phase, you make the plans how you are going to do, more of a forming stage. This happens, the everything I explained in the resource area, this happened in execution. I jumped forward just to make the linkage, because team topic is extremely critical for the exam. Okay, so this is basically all about the team. You need to understand the challenges the virtual team is facing, the technological challenge, which technology to use, why to use that technology, ease of that technology, how you can do, the physical resources, the diversity, the beauty of diversity, how to mentor stakeholders, how to coach the stakeholders. These things are part and parcel of the team management, because you need to build a high performance team. That is your goal, and then measure their performance through various things which we will discuss. So that's all about people domain. If I said people domain, that's all about people domain, or the planning of the people domain. If you have any question, please ask. So once the resource management plan is done, then we also need to, while adding something in resource, we also need to understand for the team, like there are generalists, this is called generalist. Then there are specialists. Generalists have a knowledge of all the topic, but not masters of any topic. Specialists are in depth of one topic. We need cross-functional team, a person that is specialist of one thing and they have an idea of other things also. So we want to have a cross-functional team having ideas of multiple topics, having information of multiple things, how those things can work. And we try to have co-located team. It is always preferred that we have co-located team working at 10 meter or 33 feet, so that we can have osmotic communication. We can have a communication where people can overhear it. In we try to have cave in common area, caves and common. Caves are semi-cubical area in which the people can go and they can have the special work, their private thing. In common area, everyone is sitting together and everyone is working. We have information radiator in the projects. Information radiators are something that are radiating the information, the task board, the Kanban board, the burn up chart, the burn down chart. All those things are information radiators. Okay, so let's go to and talk about a little bit more of agile, since we have started in a way the agile thing. So let's say you decided that you want to move toward the agile. Your life cycle will be more of a agile. So before moving to that, how do you decide the life cycle? So life cycle are decided with that number of changes, how much changes you can have, and how many deliveries you have. If you have one delivery, like low, high, low, high, means you have uh, low delivery or single delivery, and there are no changes, then we use predictive life cycle. If there are high delivery will be in multiple types, but there will be no changes, we use incremental. If there are, like, delivery will be at one pace, but there can be multiple changes. We are making a prototype, then we use iterative life cycle. If there can be multiple changes and the delivery will be in parts, we use agile. And hybrid can actually be a combination of any place. Hybrid, agile and hybrid work in hand to hand. Agile and predictive, predictive and agile, in any way it can be this. So let's talk about more of our uh, agile. So in agile we do make charter. Remember this thing. Someone asked me, we don't make charter. We do make charter in agile, but a charter are more of a one page. Before going to the agile, understand this thing. In predictive we have delivery at one phase. In agile we have delivery in multiple parts. Parts. That's the basics of agile. Then having an agile mindset is the key for the understanding agile. What is agile mindset? Agile mindset is that customer is everything. We try to deliver according to the customer. If the customer requires something, we try to deliver according to the customer. And then team is everything, which build us those things. Those values of agile, that becomes the mindset of agile. Individuals and interaction over processes and tool. Customer collaboration over contract negotiation. Responding to the change over following a plan. Working software or comprehensive documentation. So these are the keys of the agile mindset. They understand this thing, go into depth. Like, what does that mean? Customer is the king. This is what it means. Team is everything. They will produce. We have co-located team. We have self-organized team. They know how to perform. Trust your team. Trust, but check, of course, check, but trust your team. This is very, very important in the agile. We try to do simplicity in agile. We try to categorize that thing, put Pareto and like art of maximizing that thing not to done. We don't want to do. We consider as face to face conversation as the key conversation. Like, try to have as many face to face conversation as possible, as much possible. Okay, so that's more of a agile mindset. And we have servant leaders in the agile. It can be scrum master, coach, agile project manager, whatever the term the PMI uses. It is always servant leader. Servant leader is just like a mother or father. His or her job is to remove the impediments that is coming in the team part. Its job is to facilitate the team, help the team, guide the team, provide that food and water, tools and technique to help the team. No matter you are in predictive life cycle, agile life cycle, whatever you are working in, a project manager is always a servant leader according to the new PMP. Please, agile mindset, servant leadership is the key for PMP. This is very, very important. Okay, let's move to the next thing. We make a agile charter, then we make the vision for the project. Okay, then we make a roadmap. Product roadmap is basically the timeline, that milestones, what when the things will be delivered. Then we make a release plan. Like, release plan is a high level plan. You can say quarterly plan, what we are going to release in this quarter, what in this, what in this, what in this. Then we make iterations or a sprint plan. Okay, so a sprint, let's say a sprint is 1 to 2 week, 1 to 4 weeks. Let's say 2 weeks, you make sprint plan, and then you have daily stand-ups. Okay, sprints, then again daily stand-ups. It can be represented by onion model, vision, a roadmap, release, then iteration, and then you can put daily stand-up in it. So this is basically how we do planning. People consider we don't do planning in agile. Actually, we do more planning in agile. So how we start the work? We start the work by making product backlog. What is product backlog? Product backlog is the list of all requirements. List of all requirements of the project. Nothing more, nothing less. List of all requirement in the terms of what user want. We called it as a user story. We called it as a user story. So what the project manager want, what the stakeholder want, what the sponsor want, we put in the form of a user story. So user story are written on the sticky note. Okay, the card, they have the confirmation criteria on that. User story follow the invest acronym INVEST They are independent, you can negotiate them, they provide value, they are estimatable, they are small, you can test them. So you write down all the user story, put it in the product backlog. Once the product backlog is done, the product owner who is responsible for the product backlog, he goes back to the customer and asks them, hey, why don't we basically prioritize it by high value high risk? So they prioritize using Moscow. They prioritize using Moscow, must have, should have, could have, dot voting, putting the dots on it and calculating the vote. 100 points, monopoly money. The purpose is whatever the techniques they use, they basically are prioritizing the product backlog. Once the product backlog is prioritized, then the team comes in the sprint planning meeting. They made the sprint backlog, okay, and they also basically put story points. Story point is basically nothing but story point is the effort it required to complete a particular user story. Effort required to complete a particular user story is called story points. We have three different techniques for that. The first one is ideal days or ideal hours, how much ideally time it will take. The second is affinity estimation. We categorize them small story, medium, large, Excel. The third one is uh, the Fibonacci series. We put the user story as 1, 2, 3, 5. This is the most recommended because you can put the story points. Always remember, they are relative estimation, lightweight estimation. The story points of one user, one team and other teams are different. Okay, same work, there will be different efforts required because every team perceive the work in different. Then, in order to agree on a certain user stories, we use planning poker in which the team get together and they basically have a consensus how much story point a story could have. Or we can also use wideband Delphi. If a senior is there and he's like he can basically highest paid person can influence the story, so we use wideband Delphi for that. So once all the user stories are story points are put, then then the team decide what is the velocity. Velocity is the number of user stories or number of story points you can do in one sprint. The team decide what their velocity is going to be. So in the first sprint, they give the estimated velocity, then we start getting the velocity and we basically use from there. So we get a sprint goal, what we are going to do in this sprint, we communicate to the sponsors, stakeholders that these are our sprint goal. Maybe we are making minimum viable product, like minimum thing that must be there. Remember this thing, this is a team things, the team decide. Scrum Master is there to facilitate the session. Okay. So once the sprint starts, it can be 1 to 4 week. The Scrum Master held daily stand up, daily Scrum, the 15-minute meeting, same time, same place, same location. Three questions: what you did yesterday, what you are going to today, is there any impediment or roadblocks? Okay, so three questions there. Once that is done, on the sprint end, you have a sprint review in which you show what have you made, what have you made. So the user story according to the your checklist, okay, according to the checklist that you definition of done, that is called as checklist, that must be done things. Okay, definitely according to definition done. Once you have completed the user story, you present it to the stakeholders who have their own acceptance criteria. Okay, so they checked it, and acceptance criteria is just like what was written on the user stories. So they check it, if the user story is completed 100% and they match what it was used to say, it get accepted and it goes into the next phase. If it get rejected, it goes back into the product backlog. Okay, new user stories can be added at this time, the product backlog can be reprioritized at this time, and that reprioritization or adding of a new story and then reprioritization is called grooming of a product backlog. Grooming of a product backlog or refinement of the product backlog. Once sprint review is over, and then teams sit together to do sprint retrospective. Retrospective is all about the lesson they have learned. The lesson they have learned. So it is 5-stage process: set the stage, gather data, generate insight, decide what to you, decide what to do, and decide what to you, and close the retrospective. So 5 stages of the sprint retrospective. Once that is completed, Like if you get a more lesson learned, you put in the sprint backlog to implement those lessons. The goal of sprint retrospective is always to get 1 or 2 lessons which they can directly implement in the next sprint so that they can start working. In this way, we work in the agile environment. Okay. So if you have any question, do put in the chat actually. Okay. And when we are working, we are using information radiators. Information radiators can be burn up chart. Okay. So this is an ideal burn up chart. As you are moving, the work is being done. It can be burn down chart. The work is coming down, or you can have a Kanban board. In agile, basically agile, we can have a iteration base or we can have a pull base. So Kanban basically work on the pull base. To do, in progress, testing, done. So we put a work in progress limit in the Kanban, how much work we can do. And unless we have completed that work, the next user story cannot be put there. So that's the most important things that you must know for agile for your PMP exam. Work in, we will complete the work in ideal hours. Most of the time we will not do it, and as a result it will take more time. Okay. If stakeholders are allowed in daily stand-up, normally it is for the team, by the team, but if the stakeholders want to come, they can come actually. One more burn down chart we make in agile is risk burn down chart. It's just like the normal burn down chart where the risk, as we move down, risk should move down. If the risk are not moving down, this means we are not tackling the risk. Remember, in agile we are working with a high value high risk item as we are moving. Okay, so that's all about agile. Let's go back to the predictive area or the planning area. So then the next was risk topic. Okay, so first we make risk management plan in which we identify what is the tolerance of the organization. Is it organization risk seeker for running towards risk, risk averse, running away from the risk, risk neutral? What type of the organization is this? What is the tolerance of the organization? How we can gonna do the budget for the organization? Once that is done, then you identify the risk. You use everything. Remember, we made assumption log in the start. The first thing you are going to use here is that assumption log which you made. Then you use your OPS, your past lesson learned register. You are going to use EF, both internal and external, project charter, business case, benefit management plan, each and everything. You are going to use SWOT analysis, pestle, whatever you can use to identify the risk. The more risk you identify, the better it is. Once you have identified the risk, you put all the risk into risk register. Here we can put a potential owner and a potential response. Once you have made the risk register, the next step is to rank the risk. Not all risks are same. Some risks are big, some risks are low, some is a medium. So first we put them by qualitative risk assessment. Like we put them low, medium, high by using probability impact matrix. So this gives us the value. So which is a big risk we should focus on, which is a low risk we should not focus on. Now, after doing qualitative risk analysis, you have a decision. You can do quantitative risk analysis, which basically gives you the number, exact number, or you can directly go to the plan risk response. So let's say we go to the quantitative risk analysis, which is a very expensive risk analysis and very few companies use that. But let's say we go there. We use Monte Carlo analysis for that, giving us the probability of achieving in the terms of cost and schedule. We can use tornado diagram, sensitivity analysis to rank the risk. We can use influence diagram. We can use expected monetary value, that is probability into impact. We can use decision tree, that is extension to expected monetary value. So once you have ranked the risk, you have risk register and risk report showing the overall risk. Very important distinction. This is only used for individual risk. Quantitative risk analysis can be used for individual risk as well as for the overall risk. So then we go to the plan risk response. So in plan risk response, we take the risk both as positive risk and negative risk. For negative risk, we know that risk is probability into impact. We have avoid, we have mitigate, transfer. For positive risk, we have exploit, enhance, share. So avoid is basically we don't do something at all. probability becomes zero, zero multiply anything. So we don't do that. We don't do the project. We change the work package, change the work plan, proactively doing something. So that is more of avoiding. If you still have to do something, but you use it with the minimum thing. For example, if you wanted to work at height and you don't do that thing, you change your plan, that is avoiding the risk. But still you go to work at height, but using PPs, harness and all those things, that is a mitigation. Transfer is basically buying an insurance. Exploit is the reverse of avoid. It is more of a, you increase probability and impact, both things to make sure. Mitigate, reverse is enhance. You increase one thing, probability or impact. And if you have a big opportunity, you share it with other. You can escalate any risk to the management, that is used for both negative and positive risk. Then there's an acceptance. Acceptance of risk also used for negative as well as positive risk. So if you actively accept that, you put a contingency reserves for that. If that risk occur, I will do this thing. You don't take proactive action. Here, you are taking a proactive action. Here, you are not taking. You are saying, if it occur, I will do this thing. You have a contingency reserves for it. You make plans, and you also have a fallback plan, plan B. If plan A fails, you use plan B, the fallback plans. Then we have passive acceptance. Yes, we have identified the risk, but we don't care that risk. And if that risk occur, basically we use management reserve for that, and we do work around. Passive acceptance for the identified risk, and for unidentified risk like emergent risk and some risks which are occurring, it's the same thing. We use management reserves. So once your plan is agreed, once the plan is done, you give it for approval to the management. Once they have approved the plan, all the other plans are actually updated because of that. So that's happened in planning phase of risk assessment. So if you have any question, do ask. Okay. Okay. In agile, so you are still asking the agile question. In agile, response time is when you are going to respond. Lead time is used basically in the Kanban when the customer requests something and when the user story is completed. That is a lead time. Then we have cycle time. Cycle time is a time when you start working on the user story uh, till it is delivered. So that is cycle time. Lead time is always greater than cycle time, and your goal in the project should be to decrease lead time as well as cycle time. You mentioned agile charter. I believe you mean project. Both are the same thing. So agile, when you use in agile, so that is called as agile charting. So that's what I say. Guys, any question in risk? Okay. Then comes as the quality management plan. In the quality management plan, we need to define the standards. This is the key of the quality management plan. We need to define standards. We need to get agree with the standards with the customer. Okay, we can benchmark those standards. Okay, we can benchmark the standards, or that can be internal benchmarking. We already have some standard, like client benchmark or ISO thing, or to make the standards. Once the standards are agreed, then the next thing is cost of quality. How much money we are going to spend on the quality thing. So in order to understand the cost of quality, we basically put cost of conformance, the cost money spent in order to avoid the failure. Cost of non-conformance, money spent due to failures. It includes training, appraisal cost. It includes basically rework and warranty cost. So cost of quality is very, very important, this thing. Then we identify which tools we are going to use, what will be the control chart, tolerance here, and we define the quality matrices. What are the quality matrices we are going to follow? A quality matrix is more like a KPI matrix, key performance index. What are the things we are going to measure the project? So that's it. That's all about quality management plan. The next is basically what we do in the planning phase of procurement. Now, procurement is very heavy when it comes to the planning phase. In procurement planning phase, basically the first thing you decide whether to buy or make. Let's say we have made the decision to buy, then we select source selection criteria, how we are going to categorize our source. Then we see the contract type. Is it going to be a fixed price contract? If your scope is fixed, then we go with a fixed price contract. If the scope is variable, then we go cost reimbursement, We can also have time and material. In fixed price contract, if we want to give incentive, we can have fixed price incentive fee. If the contract is long term, we can have fixed price economic price adjustment. In the type of contract, if we want the work to complete earlier, we can have cost plus incentive fee, as well as we can also have cost plus award fee. These are some of the contracts we work on. Then we also have time and material to work with the time and material contract. Okay, so once we have decided which type of contract we do, we basically send the bidding document outside, and we make procurement strategy, how we are going to decide the bidders. We make procurement management plan, we decide procurement phases. We also get independent estimate. You see, sometime what happen, the customers have monopoly. If there's only one person, they can make a monopoly of that thing. So you need an independent estimate to check what is the actual cost of this thing. So that's entire thing about procurement in the planning phase. Okay, procurement or quality. Okay, so once this is done, then we go to the how three baselines are found. How three baselines are created. Now, this is one of the most important topic, how three baselines are created. Okay, actually, it used to be one of the most important topic, not that much anymore. So I'll tackle the three baselines in one go. So first, we make a requirement management plan that tells us how all the requirements are going to be collected. Proceed through that. We basically collect the requirement using various tools and technique, prototype, brainstorming, nominal group technique, focus group, facilitated workshop, context diagram, all those techniques, we collect the requirement. You see, this is very important. Most of the time, even stakeholders have no idea that they need this thing. This is a requirement. When you have an interview with them, then you uncover the new requirement. So once you get all the requirement, you put all the requirement to requirement documentation and classify them: functional requirement, non-functional requirement, uh, security requirements, and all the type of requirement. And you make requirement traceability metrics. The requirement traceability metrics track the requirement from the where the requirement came, what is the status of requirement, how it linked to the project, what are the things that we need to produce. Once this is done, then you put the scope filter. Okay, you see, like you break down the product breakdown, and see what are the things that are must have, should have, could have, what are the things that must be present in the product. You do cost engineering, value engineering. Okay, these things, what are the cost effective way to do. And once you make that, you make a project scope statement. Project scope statement is the detailed description, what are the things must be present in the project. Each and everything that we want to be present in the product is written in project scope statement. The assumption, the constraint, the acceptance criteria, each and everything is put into the project scope statement. Okay, once the project scope statement is there, then we make WBS. We make a work breakdown structure. We divide the work and we make a work breakdown structure. The lowest part of work breakdown structure is called work package. That is the lowest work you can complete. The highest is called deliverable, then control account. In between, we have planning package. In order to understand this WBS, we have WBS dictionary. To understand this, what are the dependencies, how the things work. We also have code of accounts and those things to help out in these areas. Okay, once we made these things, once the project scope of statement is approved, WBS is approved, WBS dictionary is approved, we get our first baseline, and that is scope baseline. So we get the approved baseline here. Then we go to the next thing. Okay, one more thing I missed here. So this was done by requirement management plan. Here you use a scope management plan. The scope management plan tells you how to collect the scope, how to make the scope, how to make project scope statement, how to make WBS, how to make WBS dictionary, how to make scope at baseline, what are the, how you can handle the changes in the scope baseline, how you can avoid scope creep, gold plating. So all those things are answered by scope management plan. So two plans are used here. Then you make a schedule management plan, which basically defines what is the tolerance of your schedule, which schedule to use, which software to use. These things are decided in the schedule management plan, which software we are going to use, what are the things in that software that we are going to work with. And once the schedule management plan is there, we start with the work package. We start with the work package, and with the work package we divide again in define activities. We break down the work package into activities list, the list of all the activities. Then activity attributes, what are the dependency bill of those activities, what are the things those activity attributes must have. And milestone list. Milestone list is a significant point in the project that has dependability, that most of the time money is related to the milestone list. Once that is done, you find out like what are the relationship between them: finish to start, start to start, finish to finish, start to finish. You also see, is there any leads and lag between them? Is any like there are two activities, so how predecessor successor, is anyone leading or anyone lagging? And we also identify what are the dependencies here. We can have mandatory dependencies, we can have discretionary dependencies, we can have internal dependency, as well as we can have external dependencies in these dependency. Once all this is done, then we make precedence diagramming method. That diagramming method that shows all the thing, and we calculate the critical path, we calculate the duration, and we get our schedule baseline. So that's all about the schedule thing. We make a precedence diagramming method, we make a Gantt chart, we make a milestone chart. All these charts are made. Then is the next is cost management plan. We make a cost management plan that tells you which tolerance to use, how to basically which currency to use, which techniques to use for estimation. So when we come to the cost, we use various estimation techniques. Same estimation technique can be used in the scheduling as well as resource. In the logos estimation, same estimation. Parametric estimation, like using the historical data but using parameter. 3-point estimation, optimistic, pessimistic, most likely, with the triangular distribution, as well as with the part optimistic, pessimistic, most likely. Okay, then you can also use bottom-up estimation, which is also called as cost aggregation. Once we do that, we also consider the funding limit, once when the fund will be released, and how the project funds are going to be released. Very important things about the like all three baselines are made: scope baseline, schedule baseline, cost baseline. We send it for the approval. Once that is approved, all three baseline combined is called as performance measurement baselines. Okay, once all baselines are done, all plans are done, they go into integration, all plans are combined, and we get a one comprehensive plan that is called as project management plan, which has change management plan in it, how you are going to handle the changes, configure in the project, configuration management plan in it, which says how you are going to manage the configuration things here. So each plan is made, plans are made in the planning stage. Once all the planning is done, project management plan is done, we give the project management plan to the sponsor, change control board, for approval. Once they are approved the plan, we are ready to work on that thing. If you have any question in the entire planning area, please go ahead, ask. So the execution stage is basically, now all the plan has been done, you start working on your plan. Execution stage is very interesting stage, because at the execution stage, now in a planning you made your plan, but which type of resource you want, RESI chart we have in the planning stage. uh, Now the resource start coming, you acquire the resources, you develop the resources, you manage them. The conflict which we discussed in planning but actually comes here, because in execution the resource start coming. So we start training them, we start working with them. Now those resources start working, very interesting stage. The resource start working and start producing deliverable. Uh, Now deliverable is produced here. Okay, deliverable is anything that is measurable, okay, and verifiable. So as the deliverables are being produced, the quality team come, the managed quality team, whose goal is basically to manage the quality, and they check the deliverables through checklist, check sheet. They are ensuring that we are implementing we are implementing quality management plan according to that. They are checking the control limits. Is our deliverables are within those control limits? And if it is not, then they are asking for the change request. Okay, they are asking for the change request, preventive action, corrective action, defect repair. As we are working on our deliverables, issues are being produced. Those issues are put into the issue log. And as the deliverables are being produced, work performance data, the raw information, we have this much work, that work is being produced. Work performance data is due. Quality is making sure, and the risk owner or risk owner is looking for the risk. If according to risk management plan, if the trigger of any risk occur, if the trigger of any risk occur, he will he will implement the risk response. Okay, once he implement the risk response, there are two options. Either you will have residual risk, or you will have secondary risk. Residual risk is a remaining risk, mostly is accepted. Secondary risk is more like another risk has occurred, so you make a plan for that, just like a primary risk. Okay, so in execution, everything is happening and all the information is being produced. So in managed communication, it is the basically post office where all communication is coming, and we are communicating project communication according to the our communication management plan need of the stakeholder. We are providing them communication which is required by them, right information at right time to right people to have the right impact. Okay, and while we are producing deliverables, maybe we need something to buy. So we have already made our procurement management plan and procurement statement of work. We give it to the bidders. We give it to the bidders, and we hold bidder conference here in execution. Once the bidder conference is held, everyone basically give their seller proposal. These are the things we negotiate with the sellers. Once we have negotiated with the seller, we finalize the agreement. Very important thing. Before finalizing the agreement, everything everything that was that needed to be done was written in procurement statement of work. Now everything comes in agreement. First agreement can be like letter of agreement, not a definite, more of a light agreement. Finally you get a final agreement, and you work with that agreement, whether this agreement is important or not. You manage the stakeholders, you manage their communication, you implement the risk, you check the deliverable, you produce the work. All work is done here. So that's all about execution. So if you have any question on execution, please go ahead, ask. Okay. Once the execution is being done throughout the project, we are monitoring and controlling our project. Okay, so we are monitoring and controlling our project. So what we are doing, basically we are producing work performance data throughout the project. Like work performance data is more of a raw data. That raw data is being produced, showing the status, how much issues have raised, how much work has been done. So that entire data goes into entire monitoring and control process and become a refined form, a report form, like daily report, weekly report. All department produce their work performance information. The project manager get all the work performance information for scope, for schedule, for cost, for quality, for risk, procurement, stakeholder, resource. Now all the work performance information are there. There are 10 reports. He cannot share it to the stakeholder. So he combined all the report, and we called it as work performance report, electronic form of reports that we shared to the people through managed communication. And they become project communication. Deliverables that were produced, okay, they directly go to the control quality. In control quality here, basically we are checking what was the thing was produced. We check according to the agreed plan, is deliverable good or not. If the deliverable is okay according to quality management plan, we get a verified deliverable. If no, then we make a change request to change it, a preventive action, corrective action, or a defect repair. Then this deliverable goes to validate scope. Now here the client come inspection. Here the internally team is doing inspection. Okay, here the client come, he does the inspection, and if they accept it, it become accepted deliverable. If they reject it, it become rejected deliverable, and it goes back to the for change. And then once the change is approved, it goes back to execution for implementation. Now we are talking about change. Let's say, okay, let me put it, okay, I'll try to do this. Any change is requested by anyone. The change is requested, it must be in the written form. It comes in the change log. Then the project manager review that is this change required or not. If the change is not required, he will reject the change and tell the reason of requirement. Okay, so if he think the change is important, he will do the detailed analysis on the change. Okay, how it is affecting the baselines, how it is affecting the deliverable. If it is not affecting the baselines, then you don't need a change request to change it, you can do it yourself. You do a detailed analysis, then you send it to the change control board. The change control board is project board manager himself, sponsor, all people. They review the change. They can approve the change or they can reject the change. Let's say they approve the change, okay, or they reject that. If they reject the change, we give the notice. If they approve the change, you update the documents, okay, you implement the change request, you rebalance the project, and you notify everyone. If the customer requests the change, the project manager does not reject the change. He just review the change and tell the customer, hey customer, if you want to have that change, it can increase scope, it can increase schedule, it can increase cost. Do you want to have that change? If the customer says yes, we still want to have the change, you implement the change and you work in according to that. So that's the journey of change request. Very important. In Agile, if there is a change, now we harness change in Agile. So we accept the change. Always, we accept the change from the customer, the product owner. No change control board here. Product owner accept the change, put it in the form of user story in the product backlog, reprioritize the product backlog. That it is required, he put it the change accordingly. Okay, so that's how change work in Agile. Now very important thing for exam, in how you control cost schedule, we have schedule variance, that is schedule variance, planned value, sorry, schedule variance and value minus planned value. If it is 0, you are on schedule. If it is greater than 1, you are ahead of schedule. If it is less than 1, you are behind schedule. You can also use SPI, and value divided by planned value. Equal to 1, good thing. Less than 1, bad thing. Greater than 1, good thing. Okay, cost variance and value minus actual cost, same thing. This question will come in the exam asking you this thing, like less than 1, greater than 1. So you need to understand. And if your budget, your complete budget is called budget at completion, if the budget is changed, you have a new budget, estimate at completion, which is basically actual cost plus estimate to complete, or uh, budget at completion divided by CPI. So that's more of a monitoring and controlling for you. If you want to understand entire monitoring and control, understand journey of deliverable, journey of performance data, journey of change request, the earned value analysis, and that's it. You are done with the monitoring and control, because you are monitoring and controlling everything. You are introducing changes to the entire project. Okay. So if you have any question in monitoring and controlling, please ask. Can a client, after accepting the deliverable, know the client, how the client can reject the deliverable? If they have accepted it, we take a return from them, we get a signature from them, so they cannot reject the once they have accepted. I don't think so they can, or they should. Okay, any other question? Okay. Okay, so now the last process is closing. Very important process. Accepted deliverable come here, that were from the journey of deliverables, they become final product. All the documents, all the plans, OPS, EEF, everything come here. We check from the benefit management plan whether we have achieved the benefits or not. Okay, we do regression analysis, we do variance analysis. The project manager start writing report, final report. In the final report, all lessons will be there. High level summary will be there. Everything will be there. That plus the team start writing lesson learned for the entire project in the lesson learned register. And once the lesson learned are written, they are put in the lesson learned repository. All documents are start getting updated. Once all documents are updated, they are put in the, they are archived the document. Once the report is written, then the project manager show the report, the sponsor, if the sponsor approved it, he basically share according to the communication plan to all the requested people or stakeholders. then you release the resources. You don't release the resources before that. All these things are called administrative closure. You close the contract, the project is completed, you celebrate the project. Let's say one thing I miss in controlling, in the monitoring and control, procurement thing. And in procurements are actually received, elements are received in procurement, in control procurement. You do inspection, you can do audit if it is written in the contract. Okay, during the inspection, if you think that the deliverables are not accepted, you can get a uh, what to say, you can get a conflict. In order to manage the conflict, you use the conflict management techniques. You try to do collaboration. If the collaboration is not done, you try to do what is written in the contract. Contract is everything. If contract is silent about that thing, that happens a lot. The contract is silent about that, you get a mediator. If mediator is unable to solve the problem, you go to alternate dispute resolution. That is, you go to court, but the court is not allowed. It is possible that a procurement is still open while you are in the closing. Although we try to close the procurement, and the closed procurement goes to the closing of the project, but some issues are still open, and we can even close the project. Some procurements are still open. No, administrative closure, final report is the part of administrative closure. When you say administrative closure, you are closing everything, you are releasing the resources, you are writing all these things. All those things comes under administrative closure. So guys, that's the entire PMP for you. If you have any question from the entire PMP, put it now. Just few things. When you have an exam, I will have a one-to-one call with all of you. Remember, when you are like, some people give exam without telling me. For those people, uh, exam is 180 question, 60, 60, 60. You need to manage your own time. Exam is not going to tell you how to manage that time. So I say, for first 60 question, use 80 minutes. The next 60 question, 80 minutes. The last question, 60 question, 70 minutes. So 80, 80, 70, you have 230 minutes for the exam. 230 minutes. So when you are solving the exam, when you are at the question number 60, so once you put next for the question number 60, the exam is going to ask you, do you want to review? There is no need to review. Okay, I don't recommend reading it. Then the exam is going to ask you, do you want to take a break? Whether you take exam in center or break, do take a break, center or home, do take a break, take 10 minutes, do the deep breathing exercise. What is deep breathing exercise? You inhale from your nose like this. Hold the breath for 3 seconds and discharge. You do it this way, you do it this way, and then you work like this will basically uh, relax you. Let's do it now. Unmute yourself, everyone. There is no background sound. Do deep breathing exercise with me. Awesome, especially you. So this basically relaxes you. So you can do that in the 10 minutes break. So once you come back, you are at the question number 61. You cannot review the first 60 question. That is gone. From 61 to 120 question, again, you need to do it in the next 80 minutes. Okay. Try doing the first question from the timer will say 230. So it will start moving towards the negative side. So once the timer reaches the 150, you must be able to do the first 60 question. If you're unable to do the first 60 question, read the last line, answer. Read the last line, answer. Because the next 120 questions are very, very important. Then you go to 61 question. Again, you need to use 60 minutes for there. This means once you reach question number 120, you must be at you must left with the 70 minutes. But let's say you are left with the 70 minutes, but you are still at question number 115. Again, hurry up. Last line, answer. Last line, answer. Then the last section. So try to complete the last section on time, because there is no negative marking in the exam. Okay, guys. So this is the entire PMP for you in 2 hours. I hope you have enjoyed it. Now I need your, send me personal message. What is the, today the PMP of batch 12 is completed. What is the net promoter score of this training program? And also send me feedback now on the entire program. I would be more than happy to know about that.